Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the regular Guy Vikings Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. And basically, what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to talk almost exclusively about just Kwesi, Adofo-Mensah, and JJ McCarthy. So, no spreadsheets, no videos, just literally you and I face to face for. We'll see how long I have a tendency to ramble sometimes. So I could probably vamp for as much as an hour, or it could end up being about 45 to 50 minutes. But either way, let's get into it. All right. So right away, we're going to start talking about our general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Okay. And right off the bat, according to Mark Wilf at the owners' meetings, he says that an extension for Kwesi is coming at some point. So it feels kind of like a done deal. And I certainly hope that's the case. I know that not everybody is a fan of the work that Kwesi has done. There's a lot of criticisms toward him, mainly focused on his first draft. And since then, he's done nothing but improve. And so I'm really glad that the extension is coming. Obviously, O'Connell already has his extension, and now Kwesi can match that, and they can, stay together, and this franchise can continue to move forward in unison. So I'm really, really happy to have heard that news. So let's just take a moment and appreciate the genius of the offseason that we just witnessed, okay? I personally thought that they wouldn't sign any one true free agent for more than, say, like 9 million average annual value, because I knew that based on the guys that were leaving, if you went higher than 10, you were going to probably, in terms of like the comp formula, you were probably going to move yourself into a position where you would end up canceling out your highest guy, which would have been Sam Darnold. And fortunately, even though Kwesi did kind of surprise me by going after one guy who was beyond that point, Will Fries, where I think the average annual value for him was something like $17-18 million. He still pretty much stuck to the plan that I thought he would. And he also was extremely savvy in going after guys who, instead of being true free agents, were actually guys who were recently released by other teams, such as Jonathan Allen or Javon Hargrave. So I just felt that was really savvy to approach it that way, right? And then to address a position that has been a real thorn in the side of the Vikings for many, many years, the guard position, to go after Will Fries as aggressively as they did, even though I was surprised by that. I was actually pleasantly surprised by that. All right, so let me get caught up on my notes real quick. So like I said, Hargrave and Allen did not factor into the comp formula. Again, very savvy. Again, surprised by the move to go after Fries, but pleasantly surprised. Just addressing like a real serious need that we have had for quite some time. So basically, I mean, let's kind of like go down the list of things that he accomplished in this offseason, right? He upgraded the offensive line. He upgraded the defensive line. He brought back valuable pieces, right? Aaron Jones, Byron Murphy, again, guys that don't work into the comp formula. He added another quarterback to our defensive back room, cornerback to our defensive back room, Isaiah Rodgers, right? Some guy, a guy who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential, and a guy that Brian Flores really pounded the table for. So, I mean, if that doesn't give you good vibes about what Isaiah Rodgers can bring to the team, I don't know what else can, because if Flores wants the guy, then I think we should be happy to have him. Swiping Jordan Mason from the San Francisco 49ers in that trade for really peanuts, honestly. I don't even know really how we got him. Honestly, when I was kind of taking like an early look at the free agency class, when I saw Jordan Mason's name on the list, I originally got really excited. I was like, there's a guy we really need to target. And then once I saw that he was a restricted free agent, I basically just crossed him off my wish list, because I was like, well, he's a restricted free agent. They're just going to put like a second round tender on him and then match any offer that comes in, or if there even is one, because then you have to give up a second round pick for him. Clearly we didn't have to do that. I can't remember the terms of the deal, but it was something like a fifth or a sixth or a swap or something like that. And so that was just really a stroke of genius on his part to bring in a quality running back like Mason and add it to the team. And now we have a real a real fantastic running back duo in Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. It's kind of like a, I mean, you can use whatever metaphor you want, but kind of like a fire and ice kind of a situation, right? Where it's like Aaron Jones is the smaller back, and he can catch out of the backfield, and he's a little bit more, squirmy with his runs, a little bit more faster on the outside. And then Jordan Mason is just kind of like your brute, your powerhouse on those inside runs, the guy who can pick up the real short yardage stuff and maybe even score touchdowns inside the 5. He also, and this one was really important to me because I'm a guy who really pays attention to the details of the roster. And what he did was he prioritized special teams prowess. And there were 3 particular signings that that I thought were really important in terms of just kind of bolstering the special teams. Okay, and that was Tavier Thomas, who is kind of a special teams demon. Then you have Tim Jones, and then you have Eric Wilson. Now, all 3 of those guys are they're 4 core special teamers. Tim Jones, really, he just plays a lot of snaps. He doesn't really have high grades in special teams, and I'm going to get to that in a later episode. But he's still a guy who's really experienced in special teams. But Tavier Thomas and Eric Wilson, those are guys with really high grades as special teamers, and so they're really going to improve our unit overall. In addition to that, we also brought in kind of a do-it-all return man in Rondale Moore. And as I'm looking at the roster right now, Moore is really the only guy on the team who can kind of serve as both a kick returner and a punt returner. You do have Ty Chandler, who can serve as a kick returner, and then I guess probably the first guy to pull punt return duty, if there's nobody else, would be Jalen Naylor. Obviously, we know what that looks like based on the way that he played, or that one particular play at the end of the first half against the Packers last year in Green Bay. And so if we can not have Naylor be our punt returner, that would be for the best. Now, when I did a further deep dive on Rondale Moore, I did see that he really hasn't been a return man since 2021 when he was a rookie with the Cardinals. And then when I kind of like looked further into it, he really didn't do much return work when he was in college at Purdue, except for his freshman year. So I'm not totally sure if Rondale Moore's role is going to be as our like both ways return man, but as it stands right now, based on the way the roster is being constructed, it looks that way. We'll see what other kind of guys they add going forward, but as of right now, you can basically just go ahead and pencil in Rondale Moore's name as both our kick and punt returner. All right. Then when you just kind of consider the way that all of the contracts were constructed, right? I think it came out that we spent either the most money or the second most money in free agency. And even after all of that, it really didn't hit our cap situation all that badly. I think we still have about $20 million in overall space. That's actually something I really didn't... I was actually researching that more about a week ago. I didn't really research it prior to this show, but I think we're around $20 million as it stands right now. And so just having these contracts cleverly backloaded, with just the knowledge that the cap will just continue to grow and grow over the next few years and just continue to increase, it's going to leave plenty of room, for future moves and to be able to work the cap and move things around, And just another thing that I thought was kind of interesting about the way that they worked the contracts was that when sometimes you can get sticker shock when the original contract gets reported, right? And you'll see the average annual value and it'll say something really high. And you're like, wow, that's more than what I would have paid that guy, right? Like with Byron Murphy or with Will Fries or with Aaron Jones. And then when you start to really look at the construction of the contract and you see the guaranteed money and where maybe the team has an opportunity to get an out with the player after a certain number of years, you start to understand that the way that they build these contracts isn't necessarily true to the idea of what the average annual value is saying to you up front. And I think, honestly, when it comes to the number, the average annual value number, I think that number maybe more so is just about bragging rights, because when you sort contracts, when you're on like SPOTrack or something like that, and you're looking at just the largest contracts and you sort it by the average annual value, and a guy will be ranked high. And I think maybe there's a certain kind of a bragging rights for the players in that, hey, my AAV is fifth in the league or whatever, and that means something to them. And so that's fine. You can make a contract look a certain way and then construct it another way and make it more team friendly. And I just think that it's been really clever and really savvy the way that Kwesi has been working with Brzezinski, and they've been doing this. And yeah, I know I've looked at the future, and I see next year that we're already over the cap. Honestly, it's not even something to worry about. There are so many different ways to, restructure and move things around and do this, that, and the other, and work that down to underneath the cap really in a jiffy. It's not even really a problem. So it's something I don't even think we should really think about or worry about at this time. I mean, 2025 hasn't even started yet. We haven't even gotten to the draft yet. Thinking about the cap in 2026 is honestly just nonsense, in my opinion. It doesn't even, it's like it doesn't even like, it's not even worthy of me thinking about it at this point, is what I'm saying. All right, so yeah, the cap's going up. Plenty of room for more moves, not a problem. So all the while, with all of this going on, he's still winning at the comp game. And he hasn't done it this first 2 years. Now, finally, into year 3, now he's starting to win at the comp game. We are in line for 2 comps right now. What it looks like is we're going to get one for Darnold, and we're going to get a second one probably for Daniel Jones, which will most likely end up being a 5th. It could potentially be a 4th if he wins the starting job in Indianapolis and ends up playing a lot of the year. It could be a 4th. So it's either going to be a 3 and a 5 or a 3 and a 4. Then there's some other extenuating stuff with like Johnny Munt and Trent Sherfield, where if they hit certain contract escalators, then yeah, they could jump in and we could even grab a 3rd pick. I'm not going to count on that right now. In my opinion, getting 2, that's already going above and beyond as far as I'm concerned. All right, so we could be looking at 2, we are looking at 2 extra picks in the 2026 draft, maybe more, we'll see. So in addition to all of that, everything that I've said, which has all been positive, he didn't sacrifice on talent. We added a ton of talent to this roster. We didn't sacrifice anything. In fact, we continue to build forward, okay? Our roster improved going forward. So no sacrifice there. It was just the opposite. So he is a Moneyball style GM, obviously. He's looking for the path of least resistance, okay? And what he found was that he found players in the market who were already proven, but are maybe like fringe, kind of like late in their prime, and are coming off of maybe like a down year or an injury or something like that, have some kind of a negative narrative about them, right? And just take, for instance, like the Isaiah Rodgers signing, right, where he had that suspension 2 years ago. And I think that hurts him in terms of his narrative. And I think that's the kind of thing Kwesi's looking for, where he's like, that's a guy I can bring in for $8 or $9 million because everyone's kind of missing on him because they've already red flagged him because of this other thing. We can bring him in. We can kind of steal him at a lesser price. That's the kind of stuff. That's Moneyball style GMing. Okay. That's the kind of thing that's going to keep us ahead of the curve, I think, going forward. Okay. So there is risk. There's always going to be risk in everything that you do, right? But it's not going to be on the field. There is no on the field risk. It's off the field. Okay, if he's proven right, and I'm talking about Kwesi here, and they all play, all these players that he brought in that have something somewhat wrong with them, they're a little bit too old, they're coming off an injury, they got suspended, whatever the case may be, if they all play, they will perform. Okay, there's no risk in terms of the performance on the field. They've already proven themselves. The risk comes with whether or not they get re-injured or have an off-field problem or age catches up with them and they fall off the cliff. And these are all real concerns. I get that. But the fact of the matter is there is a track record that these players do perform at a high level. And if they are on the field, they will continue to perform at a high level. So if guys like Ryan Kelly and Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, if they all play, they're all going to be great. You can count on that. Okay. So just add to the talent capture. So yeah, it's just kind of my final thought is this. Put it all together, right? You had an off season. Again, going back to my original thought, take a moment and appreciate the genius of this off season. And the draft hasn't even happened yet. Kwesi managed to add to this roster talent, cap space, comp picks, all at the same time, simultaneously. I mean, the cap space obviously didn't happen this offseason, but he had been building toward it. So that's kind of my point. He was still able to progress the roster forward by adding major talent to the roster, all the while still having plenty of cap space, and then also playing the comp pick game. That's a really difficult juggling act by our general manager, and I think that's just really, really impressive. So to pull it all off simultaneously, I just think that's amazing, and I think he's doing a wonderful job, honestly. All right, so how far are we? 15 minutes, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get to page 2 of Kwesi. Okay, so typically when a GM is turning over a roster by 20 players every offseason, which is what he's doing, that's a bad practice and honestly not recommended as a good strategy for most GMs. However, our guy, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, is fiscally responsible and he's a true value seeker. Okay, so not only can he pull this off, but he's actually successful doing it. And you know, clearly this has a lot to do with his Wall Street background. Okay, he understands valuation and numbers, and you know, when stocks are rising and falling, except you replace stocks with players. But you analyze trends and things of that nature, and you look and see where values are and where risks are and where you can mitigate risks, right? And where the risks are higher. And it's, I mean, football is such an unpredictable sport, right? It's like you're never going to know. You're going to look great going into a year, and your franchise quarterback tears his ACL in week 2, and your entire season is sunk because of that. You never truly know what you're going to get out of a season. But if you can put yourself in a position to have the best success possible and kind of like mitigate as much risk as you can, kind of like round off the edges. Kind of like the way things went down with the Vikings 2 years ago with Kirk when he got hurt, I think in week 8. And in the rest of the season, we really didn't come up with any kind of a plan behind him at quarterback, right? There was Mullins, there was Dobbs, there was Jaron Hall. You know, we didn't really know what to do there. And the roster was still kind of in the process of being rebuilt. You know, they kind of, it was a change of the guard, right? We're kind of moving out some of the old guys, bringing in young guys. And so we were kind of still in transition. And so Kirk going out in week 8, I mean, that was probably about as devastating as that could have been for us in that season. And yet we still managed to win 7 games and be competitive in almost all of them. So when you continue to just improve your process, get better and better, you're going to see, even on your worst years, you're going to see that win rate go up and up, right? Even on a tough year, you'll win 9, you'll win 10, you maybe even make the playoffs. But then on your best years, you're going to be a Super Bowl contender, okay? All right. So if you look at the work that he's done with the cap and with free agency, he is operating at an elite level. Okay, he took over this team 3 years ago. He has the cap in a very healthy situation. Every single free agency he has gone through so far, I remember the first one was really kind of small, but it was effective, right? He brought in like Phillips and he brought in Hicks, and you know, I can't remember, I think maybe Mullins came in that year. There were some solid pieces being added slowly, and then the next year got, you know, a lot better, right, with additions like Van Ginkel and Grenard and guys like that. And now this year, I mean, he just went crazy, and you just see it every single year. He seems to get better at this and better at this and better at this, and the cap is extremely healthy. And so he's already elite at those two facets of being a general manager. His only downfall so far has been his drafts, okay? And I get it. The 2022 draft was a disaster. Really, the only guy left from that draft, I believe, is Jalen Naylor, and he's just kind of a okay wide receiver 3. Everybody else, you know, even the guys who played, I mean, Asamoah has been a valuable special teamer. Ingram started for 2.5 years, but you really didn't get a lot of value out of those guys. And even Caleb Evans, for instance, like he started maybe like a year and a half's worth of games, but at what degree, at what level of play? You know what I mean? It's not just about drafting a guy and then sticking him into the lineup and getting starts out of him, right? And having that show up on a spreadsheet and say, well, we got 38 starts out of this guy. It's like, yeah, but those starts weren't good. And so you have to really be discerning when thinking about that kind of thing. So there is no way that you can look at the 2022 draft and defend it. Okay, it was just a bad draft. And oddly enough, it wasn't because they were drafting guys way out of range. Scene was in range, Booth was in range, Asamoah was in range, Ingram was a little bit high, but not by a lot, by like a round. Evans was in range. Chandler was in range, Naylor was in range. There were decent picks there. It's just that there's always extenuating circumstances. Things happen. Sometimes guys don't fit your scheme. Sometimes guys get injured. Sometimes guys don't get developed even when the coaching is there. And these things can be out of your control. And so, listen, this isn't a defense of Kwesi. When you're the general manager, you take credit for all hits and all misses. I mean, that is your job title. You hit, you get extended. You miss, you get fired. I mean, that's the name of the job. So then the next draft. Okay, so then we're talking about, Addison. And honestly, I can't remember much more about that draft. I don't think we got much more out of that draft. I'd have to go back and look at it. And then this last draft got a little bit better. Really, we're kind of waiting on the last draft because if McCarthy and Turner hit, then clearly that's going to be seen as a very successful draft, even though there weren't a lot of players. And then, of course, we lost one to an unfortunate, untimely death. But even if you only had two guys work out from the last draft in McCarthy and Turner, that's going to be considered a great draft because you got a franchise quarterback and you got a franchise defensive end. So he's moving in the right direction. Disaster, okay, right? You got a player or two. You got Ivan Pace in the undrafted free agency period. And then looking good. We don't know yet, but looking good. So this next draft is really important. We have to continue to progress forward, do even better than we have. And so if he can start to hit on his drafts while coupling that with his ability to operate our cap efficiently and then have great free agency periods, he's going to be an elite GM. And his name is going to get up there with the other really great GMs. I mean, the one that I really point to the most is Howie Roseman, because he built a roster so phenomenal that they just mowed through everybody in the playoffs. And when your quarterback is kind of a mid-range quarterback like a Jalen Hurts, who plays mostly about average most of the time, but then has his kind of peaks and valleys, and his peaks can be really good. So you have the kind of roster that can really kind of hold him up when he's not playing well. And then when he plays well, then they're great. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for here in Minnesota that I hope that Kwesi can build, is that even when McCarthy is not playing his best, the roster will lift him up. And then when he's great, we're great. So just a guy like a Roseman or, up until this last year, I mean, you look at the San Francisco 49ers roster, right? That was a really, really great roster. So a guy like a John Lynch, or how about a DaCosta in Baltimore, right? Baltimore always has really, really good rosters from top to bottom. Or a guy like Veach in Kansas City, right? I mean, you can't win that many Super Bowls and not be considered a great GM. So Kwesi, if he starts to draft really well, coupled with his other abilities, he's going to start getting his name into these conversations with these high-end guys. Okay. So that'll just change his narrative, right? So if you can hit on about 3-4 players per draft, you're doing pretty good. If you can hit on 5, and I'm including, again, the undrafted free agency period here. If you maybe hit 3 or 4 of your draftees, throw in another couple of undrafted guys, and you get it up to like 5 or 6 guys per draft, and you're adding to the roster year after year after year, you're going to see just things are going to get to that Philadelphia level where it's like, oh my God, how many good players do they have? It's like one guy after another after another. Right. Okay. So among the best in the NFL is what I'm getting to. So I feel like he really manages kind of fearlessly. And we saw that right off the bat in his very first draft, trading down 20 spots with the Detroit Lions, and then compounding that, and then trading down again in the second round with the Green Bay Packers. I mean, to trade down twice and do it within your own division, that shows the man is fearless. He doesn't care about traditions. He doesn't care about the old ways and how things are supposed to go and unwritten rules. He doesn't care. He's fearless. And when you need that, you need a guy who's not scared to go make moves. And I mean, Rick was kind of the same way. Rick really didn't care either. He would go and he would make a move. And, unfortunately, Rick sometimes was I don't know. He felt like maybe he was the smartest guy in the room, and he got a little bit over his skis and made some weird moves. And so I can't always defend that, but I did love the fact that he took chances. And I think that Kwesi's going to take chances, but they're going to be calculated risks, and I like that. So just when you couple him with the way that O'Connell coaches, right? O'Connell coaches with fearlessness. You see him, seconds left and a half. He's going for it. Seconds left, just situations where you think, oh, a coach is going to play a conservative here. He does not play a conservative. He's a very fearless coach. Couple him with a fearless GM, and you have kind of a recipe of, I mean, it could fall off a cliff and be a disaster, certainly. I mean, when you have that kind of fearlessness, but you also have an opportunity for greatness. And I think that's what we're kind of looking for here from our team, because we're kind of over the mediocrity, aren't we? And I think that we needed guys like this. And so just what I've kind of noticed on a personal level about these two is that they're really good, decent, humble dudes, kind of like on a personal level, but professionally they have hubris and they have self-belief, and that's something you need in this kind of work. All right, and then just kind of to wrap this up, my final thoughts on Kwesi is that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has changed the trajectory of our franchise. Every single move seems calculated and savvy, and now here we are on the precipice of a win-now season with a brand new franchise quarterback. And I don't know about you, but there were times, I mean, I've been a fan of this team for 37 years. There were times when I felt like this day would never come, and literally here we are. This is the off season. This is the upcoming year. We're about to see it happen in our lifetimes. We're about to see a Super Bowl ready franchise with a franchise quarterback who's only like 22 years old, with a great head coach, a great coaching staff, a great front office, a great ownership. We're here. It's happening. Okay. So just know that now's the time to get in, guys. If you see this and you don't have a team, or you're looking for a team, or you want to jump ship, the Vikings are the team to jump to. Get on this bandwagon now, because we're going places, okay? So let me get into JJ McCarthy. After I have a little Rolling Rock, my favorite cheap bottled beer. All right, so I'm going to talk about JJ McCarthy criticisms, because I've been hearing a lot of them, and it's really been bothering me, and I'll tell you why. There's so much consternation about moving on from Sam Darnold, and so much consternation about, blowing off Aaron Rodgers, or however, whatever you want to say. And they're just like, how could you do that? What are you doing? And these criticisms have been bothering me, because I'm sitting here looking around being like, do we or do we not have the 10th overall draft pick, franchise quarterback, a guy who won the national championship, who appears to be a great leader, who appears to be a great young man, who appears to be obsessed with football, who appears to be a really great fit with Kevin O'Connell? I'm like, what am I missing here? What is this conversation? Because it's been really bothering me. And so I'm going to literally go bullet point by bullet point and address every single criticism of JJ McCarthy that I've heard, and kind of, put my own thought and spin on it. Okay, so just number one, right off the bat, what I want to talk about is why I feel like I have a good reason to be confident in JJ McCarthy. And it's this. To me, he is the perfect fit of a football psychotic and on-field fearlessness. Okay, that's what you want. You want a guy who eats, sleep, and breathes football. Okay, who is going to be the hardest working guy in the room, arrive early, leave late, be a leader of the team, be a coach's guy, and then at the same time, when he's on the field, not play scared, not play conservative, not play timid, be fearless, show up in big moments, show up in big games. This kid has that. Okay, I don't even have to point to statistics to tell you this guy has that. Okay, so let's get into these criticisms. Number one, the first one, he's not Sam Darnold. Good. I'm glad he's not Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was Kirk Cousins 2.0 with a better arm and worse on-field processing, basically. And I don't mean style of play. They're not similar in terms of style of play. But those last two games that Sam Darnold played against Detroit and then the Rams, the two most important games of the year, that screamed Kirk Cousins meltdown. It looked like the exact same movie being played in front of my eyes. I was like, well, I've seen this before. And the crazy part is that we could all feel it coming. I know I felt it. I know you felt it. I mean, you were denying it at the time. I was denying it at the time because you want to be optimistic. You want to see the glass is half full, but you could feel it. You knew Sam Darnold was going to let you down, and he did. And we all saw it coming. That's the Kirk Cousins in him, okay? We need to get away from the Kirks, and I think we are with J.J. McCarthy. All right, so we just, I'm just so tired of seeing that style of guy. So don't give me the yeah buts. I'm so tired of the yeah, but did you see the other games, the 14-win season prior to those last two games? Yeah, I saw them. And you know what? That last stretch at the end of the season was really, really good. He had a great game against Green Bay. He had a great end of the game against Seattle. I think what else happened before that? I think he beat Chicago. That was kind of a boring game, but he had that great comeback against Arizona. He had that really great late game against Chicago. But those weren't necessarily the peak games, were they? Those weren't the ultimate games. Those were the penultimate games. Those were the games before the games. And he was able to handle that. But he could only get us so far, okay? And who are we talking about here? We're talking about, did he have a fourth quarter comeback against Baltimore? Did he have a great second half against Cincinnati or Kansas City or Detroit? No. When faced with basically the two best teams we faced all year, the LA Rams and the Detroit Lions, turds. Terrible. Sorry. Not good enough. I mean, I think the only really great games he had, the two Packers games, one half's worth. And then the second one was really great, obviously. And then the Texans. Those were the only other teams really on our schedule that I think even made the playoffs. Everybody else wasn't even a playoff team. I mean, it's so funny to me, too, because at the beginning of the year, everyone talked about how hard our schedule was going to be. And then as it turned out, if you look back now into the past, we had probably one of the easiest schedules in the league, if not the easiest schedule in the league. It was actually pretty crazy. And so, yeah, he mowed through a pretty easy schedule. I'm not denying the fact that Sam Darnold can stack up wins in a regular season in a kind of a mediocre division. I think he could absolutely do that. In fact, I don't know if I said this on a previous episode or not, but I really felt like Tennessee should have pursued him because I felt like Tennessee was in a great position to have kind of a veteran quarterback who can give you above average play and stack wins in kind of a bad division. But they didn't care. They're going to go after Cam Ward, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But all I can say is that don't give me the but yeah or the yeah but. Don't care. Don't care. Detroit and the Rams, we saw him for who he is. Do not bring that back to my team, and I'm so glad they didn't. All right, what else? Yeah, no, but don't tell me with a straight face that you would prefer to have Sam Darnold over J.J. McCarthy. Okay, so here's some other examples of how he's similar to Kirk Cousins. Big game no-shows, clearly. How about entire halves of doing nothing offensively? How about ill-timed poor decisions, right? Just those like weird throws or those like fumbles, and those like sacks, and just every time you don't need something bad to happen, you're like, there it is. Just like I thought, Kirk used to do it. Sam did it last year. I'm looking for a guy who doesn't do stuff like that. Okay, so he was being treated like a potential franchise guy because of his pick slot. He was third overall in his draft. He's relatively young, and he had a big arm. Guys, that was his ceiling, okay? I don't care about where he was drafted. I don't care about his big arm. I don't care, that he's still relatively young. We got a guy who's even younger. I got a guy who has a big arm, but he also has guts and brains. I'm not saying Darnold didn't have guts, and not even that didn't have brains, but he just, man, there was just something about the way he just stood in that pocket and looked around. It's just that I don't know if that fear ever really left him. Whatever it is inside of him, he still has it, and I don't think it'll ever go away. And we'll see it in Seattle. I really don't see Seattle having a lot of success with him. They'll probably be a nice 7, 8, 9 win team with him. Maybe he'll last a few years there. But I mean, do you honestly see Sam Darnold having a lot of success with Seattle and like winning divisions and winning playoff games? I certainly don't. And if they do, I'll eat my crow. But I don't see that happening. That was his ceiling, guys. That was his ceiling. Great, great regular season. Stacked up a lot of wins against some bad to mediocre teams. Got us into the playoffs. I think he's even capable of winning a playoff game at home, most likely. Maybe on the road if it's good conditions. But to take a team deep into the playoffs, I just don't see it, man. That was his ceiling. So just stop clamoring for mediocrity. Just stop it. Expect more out of your quarterback. That wasn't good enough. Clearly, it wasn't good enough. Okay, so 14 wins in the regular season. So what? So what? Win in the playoffs. I'm so tired of this. Yeah, but he won 14 games. So? Does that win against Tennessee keep me warm at night now? No, it does not. But I certainly remember the 17 sacks he took in the final 2 games. That's for sure. All right. Here's another J.J. McCarthy criticism. I'm done talking about Sam Darnold, hopefully forever. Fear of the injury. He tore his meniscus, okay? It wasn't his ACL. It wasn't his patellar tendon. It was just the meniscus. It's like the least important ligament there is in the knee. And it's like he could have taken the short-term surgery and he would have been fully healed within 10 weeks or whatever it was, and been back for the end of the season. He chose to do the smart thing, get it fully repaired, wait the full year, just take the full year off, okay? And then, there was some, they noticed some swelling. They went in there to reduce the swelling, whatever. It wasn't a second surgery. It was just a little procedure to reduce the swelling. It's like, what I think is really funny about injuries and the way the body reacts to things is I feel like people will see the way a body reacts as some kind of an indictment on their toughness, as if J.J. McCarthy has any, he can willpower his way through a knee swell, you know what I mean? So it's the knee swelled up a little bit. That's what bodies do. They dealt with it. He's fine. Okay, there's nothing wrong with his knee. Please stop living in the past. He is not Teddy Bridgewater, even though I am wearing my It's Teddy Time shirt. He's not Teddy. He is J.J. McCarthy. His knee is fine. Okay, if he gets another knee injury, it's going to have nothing to do with this one. This was a completely isolated incident. It's over now. He's fine. Move forward. Okay, just the hand wringing. Oh my God, the constant hand wringing. Oh my God, the injuries. Just stop already. Dude, how are we supposed to enjoy sports if all we ever do is worry? Stop worrying. Enjoy. If they happen, they happen. You can't do anything about it. It's out of your control anyway. What are you worrying about? All right. He hasn't thrown an NFL pass, and he has a small college sample size. Okay. It's true. So, for instance, I went and looked at this. So, Joe Burrow threw 650 balls last year in one season. All right. JJ threw 654, basically the exact same, but in 2 years as a starter with Michigan. But let's see what he did with those 650, right? So, it took him 2 years to make those throws. But let's take a look at this. 5,710 yards, 44 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, also ran for 508 yards and another 8 rushing touchdowns. So where's the problem? 2 years as a starter, has at least a year's worth of throws under his belt against competition at these insane numbers. What's the problem? He hasn't thrown enough for you yet? That's enough for me. I'm fine with it. Okay, so yeah, he has the arm, he has the brains, and frankly, games aren't played in a box score. Okay, that's not. We learned that through Kirk Cousins. Okay, box scores mean practically nothing. Sometimes they mean something. Sometimes you'll see a great box score and be like, "Oh, that guy had a great game," or the opposite. "Oh, that guy had a bad game." Sometimes you'll see something kind of weird, like 20 for 28 and no touchdowns. And I don't know, 214 yards and maybe even a pick. But he led the team on a late game, field goal drive or something to win the game. It's like you have to put context behind it. And I'm looking forward to having a quarterback who I no longer have to worry about what his box score looks like. I'm looking for wins here, okay? Forget box scores. I'm looking for W's. All right, so let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, so just look at the things he did at Michigan. He won the starting job as a freshman, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. He won a national championship for Michigan. Okay, that's a team. When was the last time they won a national championship? Like the 90s? It had been like 30 plus years, or 30 plus years or something like that. And they had all this turmoil with Harbaugh and like the cheating and all the, whatever the heck they were doing. I don't really watch college football, but just my point is stop focusing on these weird nitpicks. And then, on the flip side of it, stop neglecting his actual high-end accomplishments. He clearly has accomplished a lot in his career thus far. More to come. So why are we so focused on the nitpicks? Oh my God, he hasn't thrown enough passes. So look at what he did do. Look at how he came in and basically just walked onto that campus in Michigan as a freshman and was like, "I'm the quarterback. We're winning." And then he went and did it. It's one thing to say it. It's a whole other thing to say it and then do it. He did it. Okay. Walk the walk, talk the talk. Okay. That's how it works. This is a guy who does that. All right. We're done with that. Okay. Here's another one. I heard this one. He hasn't played a competitive game since January 8th, 2024, that was the national championship game. So what? Some guys sit for years. I mean, Steve McNair, Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Jordan Love. I mean, just numerous guys have sat for either 1 year or multiple years and then came out of it okay. So who cares? It literally means nothing. It literally means nothing. It's just a talking point. Ignore it. All right, what's next? What if he struggles and then you waste a year of a ready-made roster? Okay. And what if plan B fizzles out? What if you go sign Aaron Rodgers? What if you would re-sign Sam Darnold? And then, wow, they win 12 games. Maybe they even win the division. I don't know. And you make the playoffs. And maybe you win a playoff game. But then you lose in the divisional. Or you lose in the NFC Championship game. Now, either that player's gone, like, in terms of Rodgers, or you still have Darnold. Now you have this weird scenario where let's see, you put a bigger question in people's mind. Now you've delayed McCarthy by 2 years, one of which was a healthy year, and you've put the question in your mind like, oh, they don't trust this guy. They brought in a veteran quarterback, or they kept the same veteran quarterback, and they made him sit another year. Now the questions continue to build, and they build, and they build. No one thinks ahead to the future. No one thinks ahead to next year's off season. When people are like, what's going on with McCarthy? Why did you sit him for the second year? Maybe you need another veteran quarterback. Maybe you need to just, move on from McCarthy. And he hasn't even had a chance to play yet. So you'd be a year from now in the exact same situation, except in a worse scenario where the questions surrounding McCarthy would be even bigger. You will not have gotten that Super Bowl that you had hoped for. And you have wasted another year of his rookie contract. So, what would be the point of all that? You drafted him 10th overall. He is on the team. He has 3 years of control, maybe 4, right? If you do the 5th-year option for the first rounder. Get him on the field, and then all of this conversation goes away. He will now have played his first game, thrown his first pass, played a game since January 8th, 2024, or whatever it was. All of these things will go away. Just get him on the field. Just because it's March or April doesn't mean that he's not going to have a training camp and then have a preseason and then start a football game and be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Stop acting like it's like almost simultaneously. It's like you want your cake and eat it too, right? You want to act like this offseason doesn't exist, or you want to act like actually both. You want to act like there will be no off season this year and he will learn nothing and gain nothing. But then you want to act like also next year's off season doesn't exist either, and that all of those questions and concerns won't still exist to an even bigger degree next year. So what a weird way to talk about this. I mean, honestly, it truly baffles my mind. So anyway, moving on, we are on to the second half of the JJ conversation. Okay, let's have another drink. Let's wet the whistle, right? Excuse me. Sorry, I keep bumping into this thing. Yeah, so I already talked about that. We were going to waste another year of his contract. So here's another criticism. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 more. There's a lot. Okay. He didn't get first team reps, and he played against backups in the preseason game. Well, that won't be the case this year. Guess what? He gets all of the first team reps. He gets to play against first stringers in the preseason. He gets to play all the preseason games. And let's stop acting like he wasn't inching himself closer to Sam Darnold after the success of that Raiders preseason game, okay? Literally, there were conversations happening, had the knee issue not cropped up, that he was going to get first team reps in those joint practices with the Browns, okay? He was practically neck and neck with Darnold in terms of challenging him for the starting role at that point. And that was after what? The first preseason game? So there was still like 3 or 4 weeks of preseason left. What if he doesn't hurt his knee? What happens beyond that point? Do we even have this conversation if McCarthy continues to progress and takes the reins from Sam Darnold? Who knows how the year plays out? So let's not pretend like that wasn't happening, because it clearly was, okay? And then in the preseason game, I love how people like to do this. So if he plays like crap, right? People are like up in arms. They're like, look at him. He's terrible. He couldn't even do anything against the backups. But then he goes out, he scorches the Raiders. He throws the 1 interception to, by the way, Jack Jones, who had starters experience. So, I mean, that was I don't know if they were playing man or zone, but clearly he undercut that route. Like, that's an experienced corner who understood what he was looking at. And don't forget that Sam Darnold threw that exact same interception during the season. So let's not act that like that was some kind of like insane rookie mistake by McCarthy, because it wasn't. Because veteran quarterbacks make that same mistake all the time, including our own this very last year. But he thrashed the Raiders in that preseason game. He thrashed them. He looked amazing. So what do you say now? Oh, well, it was just against the backups. Okay, again, another have your cake and eat it too moment. So which is it? Are the backups good or are they not good? Okay, if he doesn't play well against backups, why is that so much worse and then discarded if he plays well against them? Pick one, pick a side. Okay, fact of the matter is, when he was on the field, he played great. When he was in practice, clearly he had issues in the offseason stuff, right? But when he got to training camp, he looked great, continued to impress. He was challenging Darnold for the starting role. And then thrashed the Raiders in the preseason, and then the knee knocked him out for the year, okay? Let's not pretend like that didn't happen. It happened, okay? The kid's ready. All right, let's go. Dun, 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 dun. I went through all that, man. Yeah, I had that shit memorized. Okay, here's another one. Fear of the unknown. Okay. Welcome to having a young franchise quarterback move on from the mediocre safety net of the 1-year rent-a-vet. Okay. I am not satisfied with 10 wins and a wild card loss anymore. I'm just not. I want more. So, fear of the unknown. Just because We haven't done it in a while, or in a long while. What was the last quarterback that, was it Tavares? Was it? No, it was Teddy. And I actually feel like Teddy had a lot of hype. People didn't really. I don't know. It's weird. Teddy didn't question him, but or people didn't question Teddy, but people questioned Tavares. People questioned Ponder. People were hyped about Dante. But the fact of the matter is, it's been a while, like 10 years now, right, since Teddy. So just get out of this state of mind. Get out of this fear of the unknown state of mind. It's okay. It's okay. NFL teams draft quarterbacks and they start them. And guess what? Guys like Bo Nix win 10 games and make the playoffs. It happens. It's okay. It'll happen for us too. All right, what else? Here we go. The schedule's too hard this year. Okay. That's what they said last year. You don't know until you know, right? So, and even with that said, it's actually showing favorable right now. So any of all the games that would be considered hard this coming year, Baltimore, Cincinnati, 'cause we're playing the AFC North. We're playing the NFC East, Washington, Philadelphia. We get all those games at home, which is amazing. So then your road games are Cleveland, Pittsburgh, which actually might be played in Dublin. We're kind of like one of like three teams up for that right now. We'll find out if that ends up being the case. But again, who's Pittsburgh's quarterback? We don't know. If it's Aaron Rodgers again, why am I scared? Who's Cleveland's quarterback? I don't know. Why am I scared? Look at the East, the Giants. Not scared. The Cowboys, okay. Prescott can throw the ball around a little bit. That roster's slowly taken a huge dive. When they blew us out 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago now? It's been a while. 2 maybe. Anyway, that was a great roster. Over the last 2 years, that roster has been decimated. That ain't the same Cowboys team. No need to worry about them. Seattle on the road with Darnold? Are you kidding me? No. No worries. Atlanta? No. Like, the Chargers, I think the only two playoff teams from last year that were playing on the road are the Chargers and then Pittsburgh, which may be on a neutral field. So, yeah, the teams, certainly, even though they're coming to your house, you got to play Lamar, you got to play Joe, you got to play Eagles and Hurts, you got to play Jaden, right? And the Commanders. And so, yeah, those are tough matchups, but at least you get them at home. You get them at the bank. You get them on the surface, right? The speedy surface, without the weather elements and stuff like that. And so let's not concern ourselves with the state of the schedule until we get into the season. I mean, right now, I could care less about that. Honestly, it's like, yeah, I see the teams, I see the quarterbacks. Yeah, there'll be some challenges. I think we're up for it. I think we're just as good as those teams. Not worried about it. All right. Oh, plus I was going to talk about our division. Okay, our division right now is living on last year's success. Okay, those other three teams in our division, they got to play all the same teams we do. They got to play the AFC North. They got to play the NFC East, and they didn't get the easy out like we did. I'm sure nobody else in the division is getting both Cincinnati and Baltimore at home. I'm sure nobody else is getting Washington and Philadelphia at home. So we'll see how that plays out for the other three. And then, of course, as you know, when it comes to the NFC, you play the teams that finished the same place you did with the other two divisions, right? So, like, for us, that's Atlanta and Seattle. For the Lions, that's going to be Tampa and the Rams. Chicago's going to get the Niners, oddly enough, and I think the Saints, and then the Packers will get the Cardinals and the Panthers. So nothing is truly easy. So everyone in their division is going to be playing practically the same schedule as us. Well, then you throw in that one extra game right now that they changed to the 17 games. We're playing the Chargers. I don't know who they're going to get, some random AFC team. But just case in point, don't expect the NFC North to have a 15-win team and a 14-win team and a 11 or 12-win team, however many the Packers won. Expect the North to kind of scale back and settle down just a little bit. And so I really do think we'll challenge for the division. And I think the division can be won with about maybe 12 games, maybe 13 if, Detroit continues to keep it up, but they lost both coordinators. I mean, that's tough. And they're going to get a lot of their pieces back on defense. I get that. But I tell you what, it's hard. I would say in the NFL, if you can keep up, the Patriots are such an anomaly. I don't even want to include them in the conversation. 20 years is insane. I mean, Belichick and Brady, that was just a combination that just will never be matched, probably. About 5 years, I would say, is a real good, solid window for a team to be just really kind of on top of their game. And Detroit is they're kind of right in the middle of that right now. I really don't think the Packers, I mean, what can I say? Love is a very streaky quarterback. He can be great. He can be awful. They don't really have any like stars on offense. I guess Josh Jacobs, the defense is okay. They've got McKinney at safety, and I think Jair Alexander's on his way out of town. They've got that Edgerrin Cooper linebacker who seems to be up and coming, and a couple of decent pass rushers. But I mean, nothing to like get upset about. They're okay. So just don't fear the division. They're okay. We're just as good. It's all right. All right. Here, we got two more here. Let's get one more drink. Yep, 1 hour. Love it. A regular guy Vikings hour. Here we go. Here's another one. He'll regress. Regress from what? He won't be ready. Not this guy. If there's one thing I know about him, he'll be ready. Okay? He works as hard as anyone. He's a true leader. This is a guy who loves football. Not everyone's like that. I think maybe that can get overlooked. You have to have that in a quarterback. You can't have a quarterback. Remember Dante? Dante was my favorite quarterback of all time. I bought his jersey, when he got drafted. I loved him. I loved Dante. He was my favorite. And he had a couple of really great years there, and he was like an MVP candidate. And he took us to the NFC Championship game, even though we got blown out. When he got caught up in that Love Boat stuff, it really tainted his image for me, because my opinion was, I was like, I care so much about this team. I think about them all the time. If I were him, if I were quarterback of this team, I would be working diligently and just constantly trying to improve myself to win and be better and bring a championship to this organization. And then come to find out, he's just out there gallivanting on some boat, in the middle of a lake and, getting in trouble. And I was like, that's not a guy that I want leading my team. That's just not. And I'm not talking about like some kind of moral and ethical level that somehow JJ McCarthy is a better person than Dante Culpepper. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm just talking about, I really do think that JJ McCarthy is the kind of guy who will just be, I think his whole life right now is just grinding out the best player he can possibly be. I think that's his whole life, his whole world. I could be wrong, but everything that I've heard about him says this, and I believe it. So I have no concerns about him whatsoever. I'm fully confident in this kid. He's not going to regress. He will be ready. Okay. And then the final criticism is just that fans and media just want a proven name. And as the song goes, was it originally by the Rolling Stones? You can't always get what you want. It's JJ McCarthy season, guys. If there's one thing, no, I've learned many things. So I know I say that phrase a lot. I've learned many, many things as I've watched football for 37 years. But here's yet another thing that I've learned, and it's this. Names don't win football games. Aaron Rodgers, I doubt. I mean, you'll never know. You would have to experience another dimension in a multiverse to see what Aaron Rodgers would look like as the Vikings quarterback. But you'll never know. But I highly, highly, highly doubt that Aaron Rodgers would have won more games as the Vikings quarterback than JJ McCarthy. I highly doubt it, because Aaron Rodgers is just a name. He's no longer a great player. I watched a lot of Jets football last year because I bet against them a lot, and it ended up working out for me quite a bit. He was not good. He got a little bit better at the end of the year with Adams, but he wasn't good. He wasn't good. And Darnold made a name for himself. He proved he wasn't good, not good enough in those final two games. He wasn't good enough. So, anyway, take it from me, the regular guy. It's JJ McCarthy season. So, with that said, the mantra of the show: play vicious, be victorious. Peace. Thanks for watching the Regular Guy Vikings Hour. If you enjoyed this video, please interact with my content, such as liking, subscribing, or even commenting. And when you're done with that, come say hello to me over on my social media platforms. Thanks.